All right, welcome back. We are here at the Key Leaves Everything Saxophone podcast booth here at 2019 NAMM. We are here with David Halliday. David, thank you so much for taking the time to come in and talk to us, play for us, all that good stuff.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Yeah, awesome. All right, so what's been your favorite part about NAMM this year? What have you seen that you've really been digging?
Well, my buddy Julian Pollack, who's an amazing keyboard player, Nord artist, he's just outstanding. He just got back from a tour of Japan with Marcus Miller.
Wow.
He's on my record Dreamsville, which is currently, the title track of that is currently on the Coffee Table Jazz playlist on Spotify.
Great. Wow.
Has over 4 million streams, which for a jazz song is pretty awesome.
Yeah, good for you, man.
So, yeah, super excited for Julian. He moved to LA a few years ago and has just taken it by storm, which is awesome.
Cool.
So that was fantastic.
Excellent.
We caught some amazing performances. The Mark Bass booth is incredible because they're handing out these Bluetooth headphones, so everybody gets to watch their performances with headphones on, and you can actually hear.
That's amazing, man. Very cool. Yeah, it is really cool to see all the technological innovations that are happening here, you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes in the saxophone world, we get stuck in the, not seeing that stuff. That's why it's great that it's all kind of mixed together at this event. You know?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's one of the things that, that's one of the reasons I'm so excited about Key Leaves, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so hard to come up with anything new for the saxophone these days. So.
It's such a simple concept, but like maybe one of the most effective things that's come out in the past, a lot of years.
Ah, definitely. Definitely.
That's great, man. So I got to ask you, I know that you've studied with one of my favorite saxophone players of all time, Joe Henderson.
Yeah.
What was that like, man? What was it like to hang out with Joe?
Man, I mean, at this point, we were dear friends. I mean, we had long phone conversations about random life things.
Yeah.
So when I think about the combination of my personal relationship with him and then also what he's become in terms of a legend, now that he's been gone for almost 20 years, his legend only grows.
Right.
But the music is, I mean, he's Joe, like his ideas and everything that he put down on records still stand the test of time.
And always will.
And always will, yeah. So, I mean, as far as working with him, it was incredible. You know, he was an incredible pianist.
Wow, I did not know that.
And so at our lessons, he would sit at the piano and he would teach me from the piano. And it was kind of like transcribing, like if you're at home transcribing a Joe Henderson record, except he's live.
And he's playing it on piano.
And he's teaching you the lines. And he's like, okay, now play this, now play that. And he would remember everything.
Wow.
And so it was just chorus after chorus, week after week, we would build these long solos. And I'd come back, I'd practice them all week. And I was very young. He would let me record the lessons on cassette, which he didn't let any of his students do that.
Wow.
So I know the student who had his lesson before me was always furiously like notating.
Wow.
So
I got to record
I got to record it and I got to take it home and study it. But the amazing thing to me was I would come back to the next lesson and he would remember all the lines and he would play them unison. He would comp in his left hand and then play the lines unison.
That is incredible.
He's just he's a genius, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
for real.
The other thing about Joe that impressed me the very most was just he was a no-nonsense musician. He was fully aware of every note he played. There was no BS at all.
You know, I've heard that, like all the rhythmic stuff that he did that made his playing so unique. Somebody, I forget who I was listening to, they said that was all worked out. If you heard him practicing, he was working that stuff out meticulously.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
He was also known for he would make little notes on a scrap of paper and then bring that up to the bandstand with him before a gig just to try some new ideas.
That's really cool.
I wish I had studied with him longer, and I wish that I had kept in touch with him better after I studied with him to just continue to tap into the amazing person that he was. But I'm just so fortunate to have had what I had. So
that's great, man. So I just had to ask you about that.
Of course, man. Of course.
So let's talk about you a little bit. So
sure.
we know you're endorsed by Cannonball Saxophones.
Absolutely.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about your horn and what you love about that company?
Well, I'm based in Salt Lake City, and Cannonball was founded in Salt Lake City, and have basically they've only been around a couple years before I moved to Salt Lake in 1999.
Okay. Great.
So I've developed a really close relationship with Tevis and Cheryl and the other people who work there. And one thing I admire about the company itself, the products itself, is that they're constantly innovating and improving. They're always trying to get better. They're working with artists like Branford Marsalis to hone their instruments and you know, make the best instruments they can make. And they're a young company, so they're breaking into a market that's been around for 100 years. So they need to, they kind of have to do that, I guess, to play catch up or whatever. But that's just nice to see. There's no complacency at all, so that's wonderful. And then the other thing is just the people themselves. The people in that company are the warmest, sweetest, kindest people. So I feel really good knowing that I'm just part of a company that's just wonderful humans.
Yeah, that's great, man.
Yeah.
And they have an absolutely huge booth.
They do.
At NAMM this year. They have
do.
so much amazing equipment to try. It's cool to see them constantly innovating, coming out with new horns, new ideas. It's really wonderful.
Absolutely.
Very cool.
Yeah, I've got so on tenor, I've got a vintage Reborn tenor. I've also got a Black Ruby Big Bell Stone series that I wish I had it with me. I could show you. I actually got it engraved at the last NAMM. People come up to me all the time and say, "Is that a purple sax? Is that a purple sax?" And the finish is such that from a distance it can almost look black, and then you can get real close and get it under some bright lights and it looks almost pink.
Wow.
But it's like this whole sort of array
Shifting
of like,
lights.
like black, pink, red. And so I got Prince is one of my favorite artists of all time. So I got his love symbol engraved
Whoa, cool.
right here, and the year 1958 of his birth and 2016, and so it's a totally unique.
All right, you're gonna have to send a picture of that to us so we can post it. Because I know that everybody's gonna want to see.
Oh yeah, anybody who follows me on social media, at David Halliday Music or at Lone Peak Sound, there are pictures of that everywhere.
Awesome. Very cool. So tell us a little bit about what you have coming up in 2019 that you're excited about.
So yeah, the biggest thing is, well, I founded a record label back in 2003, and but I haven't really had time, as a musician and an educator, I haven't had time to develop it. But this year, this is the year that we're going full bore with Lone Peak Sound, and really, I'm digitally releasing all the old records that were only available on CD.
Wow, great.
In preparation for the big record, which is called the New Orleans Project, which I actually recorded in 2011, believe it or not, in New Orleans with Stanton Moore, who's
with Stanton Moore. Wow.
I mean, he's like New Orleans' favorite son on drums. Drummer of Galactic, an amazing, and just another wonderful human being, and just an incredibly motivated and what an educator and what a human and what a drummer.
Very cool.
So we recorded at Ani DeFranco's house, Big Blue, with her husband Mike Napolitano, and we had Will Blades on organ from San Francisco, who's just about to move to LA. Actually, Will is, and Corey Christiansen, who's an Origin Records artist, on guitar. And it's all original tunes.
Very excited.
And it's a banging record, man. I mean, it's like just nasty New Orleans funk, like the stuff that I used to play with Galactic when I lived in New Orleans, and we really stretch out on it. And so we're gonna go full bore with advertising and print publications and online and stuff. And
when's that coming out? Do you have a date
sometime
yet?
in 2019.
All
We don't have a date yet because we're still pushing the digital issues of the former records. I just want to make sure I have all those records out before this new thing comes.
Very cool.
So that when that record comes out, we can just, it's all about that record,
Great. Well, awesome, man. Well, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and talk with us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And now you're gonna play a little bit.
Absolutely.
For us, right? We get the duo going.
Yeah, we're gonna pay homage to Joe Henderson actually, and play some Inner Urge, and then whatever else we have time for. So,
all right.
We also have to send a shout out to Samuel Shen, who was so kind. Their booth is just right over here by the Key Leaves booth, and they've been so kind to let us use one of their upright basses.
Oh, yes.
And I have the bass princess with me, Kaya Kareen, at Bass Princess Official. She's going to join me on the upright. And so thank you again for this opportunity.
All right, man. Let's get it going.